My buddy Frank Saida was playing drums for Mickey Lee, Joey's brother. And he's actually the guy that called me up. He called me up and he said, hey, you know, the Ramones are auditioning bass players at SIR Studio. And I was in the Marine Corps at the time. I was in the Marines. And I go, yeah, I'm in the Marines. And then I thought to myself, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go down and meet the band. I'm just gonna go down and meet them. And so that's what I did. I went down strictly just to meet them. And being that I was in the Marines and being disciplined, I got down to the studio 15 minutes, half hour early. So I was the first one in. Mitch Keller, who was Marky Ramone's tech, met me at the desk at SIR Studio on 25th Street on the west side of Manhattan. I walked up, I said, hey, my name's Chris Ward, I'm here for the audition. Brought Monty over, Monty came over, got all my pertinent information and brought me in and introduced me. I walked over to Johnny, shook his hand, said, Johnny, big fan, you know, great to meet you, and this and that. And walked over to Mark, said, Mark, good to meet you, big fan, blah, blah. Rick Weinman, who was Johnny's tech, helped me get my bass set up and get a good sound on the bass amp. And Johnny was like, what songs you know? And I said, I want to be sedated, and played the song. And we stopped and Johnny asked me a couple of questions. And Johnny's way of judging everybody, it was by how many Ramones shows have you seen? So I said 15 or 20, I guess. And he was like, oh, okay, you're a fan. Okay. I was like, that's a good number. And we played again. Joey walked into the room. As soon as we were done, I put my bass down, walked over to Joey, introduced myself, and that was it. I said, okay, thanks a lot, guys. It's been an honor. Went home, and the next day my mom was like, Monty Melnick called. Monty Melnick, of course, Ramone's long-time tour manager. Monty Melnick called, he wants you to call him back. So I thought to myself immediately, like, I need my strap at the studio or something. Like, literally, that was the first thing that came to mind. Like, I must have left something behind. I called Monty and he was like, okay, so the guys like to learn some more songs and come back next week. And I was like, wow, okay. So it was easy for me to pick songs. I knew the Ramones live set. And that kind of put me on the path of making sure that when I showed up, I was giving Johnny what he wanted to see, because I knew what Johnny wanted. I figured Johnny wanted a Dee Dee guy, and I kind of fit that. I already knew that I kind of fit that. And I started thinking about it, and each time I went down, I tried to make sure that he understood that I got what he was looking for. And it was really easy for me because I was exactly like him. I grew up the same way. We both had somewhat of a military background. We both were very blue collar. We both were, you know, punks, not punk rockers, but punks. So it was really easy. I could just be myself, and I just wanted to make sure that he understood, like, I know where you're coming from. I know what you're looking for. So I had learned a bunch of songs up to this point, and we were playing everything album speed. And I think once I got to the point where he realized I could play the style of all down picking, he wanted to test and see how I would do it live speed. So I went to rehearsal. Mark counted off, and they burst into live speed, and I tried my best to keep up. And then I just stopped playing, and Johnny was like, what's the matter, you can't handle it? And I said, I can handle it, but if you want me to learn it at that speed, you have to give me the opportunity to learn it at that speed. And that was acceptable to him. He was like, oh, okay. I think it was also a test to see, like, how I would react to him being a little bit like, get in my face, you know? And the next audition, because it was still auditions, that's when we started playing the set at live speed. I started to realize at that point I might have the audition, but I had some unfinished business with the Marine Corps, and I knew I had to get it cleared up. So I called back to base, and I said, yeah, my name's Ward. I'm stationed over at Camp Horno. I'm on deserter status right now. I just need to know what I got to do to get things cleared up. And the Marine on the other end of the phone was like, well, where you at? Let me pull your file and I'll call you back. And I knew what that meant. So 15 minutes later, Suffolk County's finest were at my front door, picked me up, took me to jail. I spent the night in jail. The next morning, a bounty hunter picked me up, took me to Fort Hamilton in the Bronx. The 2 Marines picked me up the following day and took me down to Quantico, Virginia, where I was officially put on notice, shaved my head. That's where I got the phone call from Johnny. So I pick up the phone. Chris? Yeah, it's Tommy Ramone. I was like, so I said, Johnny, listen, I'm sorry, I should have told you what was going on. He said, well, what's up? What are they saying? I said, there's a new commandant who just came into the Marine Corps and he's clearing the books. Anyone who is on deserter or UA status is just going to get discharged, and that's going to be it. I said, I'll probably be here for, could be up to a month. And he said, all right, well, do your time, and when you get out, you got a job. And I was like, the only thing I could think to say was, you know, they shaved my head because my hair had grown in over time. And he was like, don't worry, we'll get you a beetle wig. But yeah, so I was there. I think I was there for a total of 3 weeks, maybe a month. I called up Monty. I said, hey, Monty, I'm home. And he said, all right, take the weekend off. And Monday we start rehearsing. I had 5 weeks. I learned 40 plus Ramones songs in 5 weeks. Did my first show September 30th, 1989 in Leicester, England.